Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I would love to show you how you can paint this really cute and easy summer girl's face. Now today is a very special day because it's a collaboration with the CAC Love Summer Art Reboot. And if you search the hashtag, which you see in the title and in the description, Love Summer Art, and it should be clickable under the video as well, it will take you to a bunch of creators you may never have seen before because of the way the YouTube algorithm works. And you might find a new and favorite YouTuber, so be sure and check that playlist out. On the mic today is my husband, John.
Hey, guys.
He is helping me with all this creative madness just to make sure that you at home can see and be part of everything you need so you can succeed, especially if you're a very beginning painter, in creating this. Because what we're going to do is we're going to explain every single step of the process. We're going to explain how much water to put on the brush, how much paint. We're going to explain every step. And if you also check that description below, besides that cool hashtag, there's a link to our website. And on that website is a traceable because I don't expect beginners to draw and it isn't cheating to use it. There's also a reference that you can print out and a link to some other videos that can help you customize or change this image. After you painted her once, maybe you want to do something else with her and get creative, which is the whole point of art. So that's all there for you. So you have everything you need to succeed, including color exchanges. I'm kind of ready to just jump on to Miss Cutie Patootie. Are you guys ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
All right, let's turn around. So I really love her. She's super inspired by summer, by my time in California, by those like big giant sunglasses that you see at the beach. A little bit of Coachella got thrown in there. So there was a lot of influence into this. And I get asked a lot from people, how can I paint a face? I'm really bad at faces. I can't paint people for anything. And how can I do that? And so I really went back into fashion illustration to come up with a way to make things simple and easy enough, but yet still gorgeous enough that you would want to paint it. You'd feel really good about it and proud about it. And minimalist fashion illustration ended up being my muse here. If you are great at noses, right? You're just a good artist and you're great at noses and you'd like to give her a couple like minimalist nostrils, a la Nagal or some sort of, that's completely fine. But understand there's a whole movement in art where certain features of the face are not included because of the nature of human expression. Sometimes we like to take out an element or two. And so for her, her glasses, her hair, and her big lips are what's important in this painting. And here's the secret. Noses are one of those things that really throw beginners. So this great design makes it so much more beginner friendly. So that's why we did what we did. You guys are ready to look at the materials?
Absolutely.
Now that you understand the creative process and how it was invested in the beginning art experience. I have here a 9x12 surface, and we like to put wishes and intentions on canvas and paint over them and send them into the universe. And so we have a wish that Debbie and Buzz, they get strength, they get healing, and they get hope, and they get all the support they need to get through a current medical crisis. And we hope it turns into a medical healing journey, like a good journey. And then also, and this is personal for us here on the ArtSherpa team, but also global because I know this affects so many families. We wish for cure, treatment, and help for those that are dealing with MS. So we've got this little surface here, 9x12, artist board. It's not because artist board is better. It's because I paint too much and I have storage issues for all the paintings. That's really what it is. Over here, I have my acrylic paint. You may wonder as a beginner, do I have to use this exact brand of paint? No, you don't. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm using and show it. That way I am authentic and honest to you so you understand what I'm getting. And these are professional paints. They have a lot of pigment, but you can use what you have. It's just important to just come along and paint along and learn the techniques and the values. Everything else is sort of little tweaks and adjustments. Don't get too stressed over that. I've got this out. The colors I have are titanium white, cad yellow medium, cad red light, quinacridone magenta, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, phthalo blue, and phthalo green. On that webpage I mentioned earlier, I include some color exchanges of colors that are kind of interchangeable with each other. So you can look at what you have and say, do I have something close? If you're painting with craft paint, you'll want like a bright, warm yellow. You want a almost orange red, a very kind of fuchsia magenta. So that'd be like little flowers, almost like azaleas, yellow gold, kind of a rust brown, a bright sky blue, a bright green blue, and your regular white. So see, it works with whatever you have. Now, to do her, sometimes I like to demo traceables. But today I'm going to show you, because she's so beginner friendly, how to sketch her in. I'm going to use a watercolor pencil. There's links to watercolor pencils below. I'm going to use a Caran d'Ache one, and I'll put my little reference here so you can see how I'm going to do this. And she's actually pretty easy to sketch in. You don't have to sketch her in though. You can print out the traceable, rub graphite on the back, tape it down, and just trace over the lines, and that image will transfer onto the canvas. I have a whole video about all the ways you can get an image on the canvas. So there is resources there. If you've never done it before and you're like, I don't even know how to do that, we got a video on how to do that. Let's look at how we would do her in though. Again, I'm going to use a watercolor pencil. You could use colored kids chalk. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to just make a little oval about the same sizes and how these simple lines start to create a really cute girl. All right, so let's look at where she's placed on the surface. She's about a hand over, and it looks like it's about another hand over, right? So I'm going to make sure I've got kind of a sense of that. Her forehead is about 3 fingers for me, and I'm going to measure actually with a measuring thing. And I actually have a measuring tool, and that might make this easier. So let's look at the size of her face. It is 5 inches on the oval, so I can take this and also measure about 5 inches. Okay, so I've got this. And let's look at the sides, since I was like fingers, fingers, fingers. It's 2.5. 2.5 inches in from the side. And from the top, it's just under 2 inches. That's sort of where I'm going to place the face. Watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make a little soft oval. I don't have to have perfect lines because this is a watercolor pencil. And that means I'm going to be able to kind of sketch loosely and then make adjustments as I see fit. Right? So see how I'm just kind of adjusting my lines? Now, if I used a graphite pencil, some of that kind of lead might bleed through into my paint and impact my painting and make things maybe a little less enjoyable for me. So I'm going to bring this here because I know I'm going to have her little hair happening here. Now, when you're looking at a face, right, and you're trying to determine whether you're doing a minimal face or whether you're doing a more realistic face, you know, where are the eyes going to be? The eyes actually generally are halfway in the head. And if you look here, you know her skull's kind of up here, so you're going to try to put them at the halfway point from where the top of her skull would be. So that's where her sunglasses are going to go. Pretty easy. And then what you want to do on the nose is you want to come right to the middle and make a nice little bridge, right? The little bridge of the nose. I like to sketch circles. See, I'm just sketching some circles. Not too bad. You want them about the same size. If you have trouble making your circles the same size, you can find like a Dixie cup and just trace around it, like a small little bathroom size cup where it's kind of tiny. Now on the lips are sort of a lot of fun. I have a lot of stuff on how to do faces, but how I find the places from the bridge in the nose to the chin, the halfway mark, that's where the lips are going to go. If you're putting in the nose goes in halfway from the bridge of the nose to the lips. It would go in right here, but I'm not going to put that in because I think she looks pretty darn stylish and sleek. So right here in the middle, I'm going to make 2 little mountains up. See those? They're like 2 little mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go bump, bump. Now she's sort of cheeky, so I'm going to curve it down and smile it up. Smiling it up. And underneath here, I'm going to follow along. See this right here? And I curve up on the bow of the lip. There we go. And then down here, I'm going to add her little bottom lip. And it's really almost the width of the whole lip up top without the little dip. So that's sort of how I make those decisions. You can change a lot about your girl by changing the positioning of her lips. Her hair, I'm going to come to this top line. This is her little hairline. And I'm going to just make a little arc up, right? And I will come around like this. And I'm going to do a very similar thing over here, but I'll slip it in. See, I kind of went in, so her hair got a little sassy. Bring another little bit out here and join it into the neck. And then I'll bring this one out here. That's going to be great because we know we're going to bring a little bit of her hair in right there. See how it's curving in like curtains? Mm-hmm. Think of it like curtains. And then the bun just comes right up here, right off the surface. So that's how we get the bun in. Now her neck, I want her neck to be long, and let's look how long I made her neck on this original one. So if I come here from the bottom of my ruler, this is a T-square ruler, it's what I like to use. She's just a little over 2 inches long. So if I make that little mark right here, just a little over 2 inches long, which is about 3 fingers on my hand, I know where I'm going to start putting her neck and shoulders. And if you see the chin, I like to have the neck be sort of narrow in the chin. I don't want to make her neck very thick. So I'm going to come right here just on this side of the chin. It sort of lines up with the corner of my mouth, see? I'm going to bring this line down long. It's curving slightly in, and it goes long. This one here, I'm going to come right here below the corner of the mouth there.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is when you're doing realistic figure drawing or faces, and I had a whole year where we did faces on the Big Art Quest, whereas all we did was do faces, these are very similar proportions. So whether you're doing something stylized or you're doing something hyper-realistically, you're going to find a lot of the same principles apply. When I come down and I curve this neck, I'm going to do a fun thing. I'm going to slope up and off for her shoulders. See that little jaunty little line there?
Yeah.
That's one of the indicators that I used fashion illustration as an influence, because in fashion illustration, they often put the body in interesting sort of like off-center shapes where a shoulder is raised or a hip is dropped, and it really allows some beautiful line within the rendering. Now there, I'm going to do this drop shoulder here, right? I'm going to come out, similar size, and then I drop it down just a little bit. See, it's just a little bit dropped down. See, I did, see, I wasn't looking at my reference, and I got a little off there. So what I'm going to do is I'm come right here, and remember that I took this down a little bit more like this, leaving a little bit of blue. And you can just easily make that adjustment when you're sketching it in if you see like, oh, I made a mistake. And remember, you've got a traceable, so if you don't draw and this isn't fun for you, don't do this part. But I get asked a lot how this is done, and so sometimes I like to demo it. Her neckline, I'm going to bring down a little bit right here. And then it's like an A-frame top, so I'm just going to bring the line down here. I'm going to come over an inch over and do a similar line here. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
That's how I got my really fun girl in. That's the drawing. And you can see why I'm saying this is something that's super beginner friendly, because the shapes are simple and easily constructed. So even if you wanted to freehand it, also the painting techniques to get her in are very simple. So let's put out our first colors that we're going to be using to paint. Right? I'll put these aside over here. I'm going to put out my titanium white. You generally in painting need twice as much white paint as any of your colors. Little fun fact you might not know. That you need twice as much white paint as you need black paint. I'm going to put out a little bit of my blue here. That's my Phthalo Blue. Right? And I'm going to also put out a little bit of green. Just a smidge, see? Almost like half the amount of green to blue. And I'll go ahead and get a nice big bright. All right, so this is a nice big bright brush. I'm going to dip it in. It's a number 10 bright silver white. And I'm going to just mix these together. You see I'm mixing those together, and that's going to give me a turquoise. And if I come over to my white, I can make a very, very light color. And that very light color is going to be her background. If I have too much pigment on my brush, I can always kind of wipe it off and get more white. The trick that I use, because it takes very little of the blue to tint the white. So if you want the background on her to be light, it isn't going to take a lot of paint to do it. I am on the edge of my brush, guys. See how I'm just using the edge of the brush to create that nice sharp line? And then I'm going to curve it around here using the edge, the tip of these bristles to drive that direction. Now, if I'm having trouble because the lip of my canvas, I can always move my surface to make my time here easier. Take a deep breath. All right. So generally, yeah, about this time of the painting, everybody gets like they're biting a lip, they're biting their tongue, they're holding their breath. Let's take that. Let's let that out.
I know I was.
We drew it in. Everything's okay. We're doing art. whatever you're concerned about this week, whatever is bothering you, whatever is with you, let's throw that out of our art studio for a minute. Let's breathe in our creativity, breathe out our stress, and just paint in this beautiful, relaxing blue, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we need to do? Just paint this in. Coming along here, I'm just using my brush. If you let it, art can be very relaxing and restorative. And so I've made it easy for me to steer around the surface. The canvas is taking my paint okay, which is always nice because sometimes they fight back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come up here and again I'm going to come in around. You can see I'm using the edge of the brush and I'm pulling down. There we go. That's a nice blue background, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can see where my paint is. I'm going to wipe off a little bit so it doesn't creep up my brush. Something that can happen to beginners is your paint can creep up your brush. Notice I'm mixing from the outer edges of these paint pops, so I've always got a little bit of clear color. I'm going to pull the paint out. Another thing you might not know as a beginner to do is to flip the brush when you're loading. See, I'm getting into the paint and I pull it through, and then I flip it and pull it through, and then that creates a load in the brush. So sometimes when you're new to painting, you really, are doing a good job, but you won't know it because there might be something that's fighting you, like the amount of fluid in your paint, the amount of paint on your brush, little things that you wouldn't know are undermining you. And you might get the mistaken impression that it's you.
And that's interesting because you talked about that a bit, I think it was yesterday?
Yeah, I like to talk about that on the real beginner lessons.
Yeah, sometimes it's counterintuitive that beginner paint isn't necessarily beginner friendly.
Yes. It can be challenging, and you may find if you're using an inexpensive paint, you have to use a couple of coats to get the same result. If you're using craft paint, you may want to use less water than I use. I'm using heavy body paint. That's very thick, robust paint with lots of pigment, so I use more water to thin it. But if you were using a craft paint, you would use a lot less water. Look at that beautiful background. And notice up here, I kind of went a little blue in. If you were new, maybe that could worry you, that could panic you. But I want to assure you, even if you paint in past your little guidelines, I'm coming back with my yellow paint. It's going to be okay. Now, always rinse your brush out. Let's listen to it thoroughly. We're pulling all the pigment out, dry it out, and lay it flat until you're ready to wash it after your painting session. And always wash your brushes after your painting session. Now I'm going to take some yellow ochre. I'm going to put it right here. You can see what I'm talking about, that it's kind of like a yellow gold color. It's got a bit of brown to it. So if you're doing craft paint, most of them do have a yellow ochre, but if they're not labeled that's the color that you're looking for. I do highly recommend this paint. I've been enjoying it quite a lot, but I understand, like, it can be hard to get out and get new things. Can be challenging. I've also got a little bit of black paint for our outline later, but I'm going to keep that back here until I'm all ready for it. And I can see that I've got a lot of blue over on my white. So for this, I might come back and add just a little bit of white, because I want a very light skin tone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, if you want a different skin tone, boom, in the iCard, search ArtSherpa skin tones. I've got so many videos about skin tone. If you go to the website and you search the keyword skin tone, you're going to see so many resources, worksheets, beginner-friendly information about different types of skin tones. And in my description also has my favorite
Can I
book.
back that up saying, like, especially if you want to try there's really good resources on skin tones, and you
And hair
wouldn't
color.
expect the mixes that you would need to know about for doing different skin tones. So it's a really good resource. I highly suggest you go check it out. I liked checking it out myself.
And it's always nice to be able to customize your paintings, right?
Yes.
Now I'm going to get
cool
this.
thing.
This is another bright brush. This is a Ruby Satin Bright, right? This is a number 8. I'm going to show you against my hand about the size of it. So if you see my finger, that's about the size of it. It's different than a flat because the bristles are out a little shorter, so it makes it a little stiffer. I'm going to load up with some yellow ochre, and I'm going to grab just a bit, just a smidge. Did you see how little?
What was that color?
Quinacridone Magenta.
Quinacridone Magenta and
Yellow ochre. Just
yellow
a smidge.
ochre. Just a smidge yellow. Okay.
I may even kind of wipe off the extra into my brush because I want her skin tone to be quite light.
Mm.
And there we go. If you want her to be more tan, you can use more yellow ochre.
Mm.
See, I'm using the edge of this brush to paint around her little chin.
Yes.
The edge of the brush to come down. And I'm going to make brush strokes that are like curved like a smile. That's going to help inform her neck. Now that little line I had put in, I'm going to come back with my black and put in, but I want to just make sure that I've got that painted in nicely. Get a little more of this on here. You can always get more yellow ochre if you want it a little more warm. And I'm going to move the surface so I'm not struggling to paint. If you're sitting down, if you're standing up, if you have limited mobility, remember to breathe and remember to move your canvas so your body stays comfortable. Let's get here now. Let's really look at what we're going to paint and about the shape of things, about the direction of things. I'm going to come in, I'm going to plant the brush on the edge of its bristles, and I'm going to trace along my line here very carefully, and that's going to give me a nice crisp line. I can come right here and trace in. I made a plan, I made a strategy, and now I'm going to follow the line of the shoulder with my brush strokes a bit, and that's also going to help it feel a little bit rounded. The direction of brush strokes can impact the outcome of our painting. Fun to do. Now I can come here and I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to let John come in and join us so we can really see that again. Right? I'm going to offload that extra paint like we talked about. Get a little more white into that mix. You know, thoroughly worked out. Come right here. We're going to come on the edge here. I'm going to plant it and then I'm going to come down. You can see it gives me a nice line between my blue and my white. I'm going to drag this down. Breathe in, breathe out. You've got this. You probably do 20 things in your regular week that are 1,000 times harder than this will ever be. And much less fun. Seriously. Sorting out laundry. Figuring out what goes into what pile. That's a very difficult skill, doing laundry. If you're good at laundry, you've already faced a challenge much more challenging than this. I'm going to come down. I have a lot of feelings about Laundry Mountain. It's scalable in my house.
You know what Laundry Mountain is good for? RC cars.
That is true. Laundry Mountain is good for RC cars. So I'm just painting this here. I'm getting a nice solid coat. Isn't that lovely? Anywhere you're just like, you want to change anything, you can come back, you can go over it. If you're painting really thin paints, you might need a couple coats, you know, for her skin tone. You might not. You just have to make those decisions as you're going. I'm going to paint in her face now. I'm going to get a little more of my skin color on there and adding white. You can see how easy it is to get back into it. There I am, mixing that in, finding a similar color. Right. Swirling around the brush, kind of incorporating it thoroughly, pushing it out of the brush. I'm showing you all these things so you understand all these little micro adjustments that we make as artists. So there's the brush in its current state. I'm going to come up and go a little bit above my drawn hairline because I want to also come back down with it. Interesting effect. I'm going to come around my glasses. Now I actually will go past where I drew the little bridge between my glasses because I feel like I can still see it a little bit. I can see the line here on the glasses where I centered the eyes because her eyes would be centered directly on that line. So I'm going to be able to find it again really easily. It's not gonna thwart me in any way.
Your palette was making kind of a funky sound there. Is it you working? Is that plastic?
I am. No, it is a tempered glass palette. We actually did a test on some of these just to tell you guys don't take glass out of a frame and make it a palette because that's super dangerous. Use tempered glass, use safety, be smart in the studio.
You can see over there on the corner of that one there and on the corner up there, they've got these little rubberized corner bits. It's actually made to be a...
Yeah, this is made for artists. It's safe enough for the studio. It's safe enough for your family. It's really rather a wonderful product. It's by New Wave. I have the peel paper one I normally use in there in a link, but you can find all their products. And I've actually been enjoying it. I've been doing a lot of paintings a day, so I've been using the glass palette because I just can't go through palette paper 20, 30 sheets a day. And so I started using this, and I've been rather enjoying it. I found this one easy to clean. The other ones I've tried in the past have not been easy for me to clean, so I really moved away from them, but this one has been easy to clean. So I'm enjoying it. I'm going to come right here and just make sure I have a nice line for her face. We're doing good, aren't we?
Yeah.
Just painting things in. All right. I'm going to make sure everything is smooth and the way I want it to be. All right, so coming here. Making that sort of smooth. We got these little lips. We got the glasses. We're whipping through her. I'm going to rinse out very, very thoroughly. I'm letting all of this have a dry. And for fun, I'm going to put out my Cad Yellow. And you could use Hue, just so you understand. You don't have to have pure Cad. One great place to save money is to get a good Hue cadmium. I'm going to put out my yellow. And I'm also going to put out my Cadmium Red Light. And you're going to notice this is almost an orange color. It's not quite pyro orange, but it's very bright, a very warm red. We would like to say that it has a warm bias, which means that the undertone of the paint is leaning a little bit more towards the yellow. Now I'm going to come right here. And so it's very close to the edge. And one thing that I can do is by flipping my surface over, I can make my job painting this effect a lot easier. So I'm going to dip my brush in water, drag off the extra, come and get my yellow, my pure yellow, and I'm going to come here and from the top, I'm going to start putting in my pure yellow. Just painting that in neatly. Remember, guys, it's a good time to take a breath. I'm fine. I'm good.
I like you remembered. I hold my breath sometimes when I'm switching cameras because I'm like, switch to this one, look at that one. Oh man.
Yeah, it's easy to get to holding your breath. It's easy to get to carrying tension in your shoulders. You know, every once in a while, take a minute and think about relaxing your body, relaxing your mind, relaxing your spirit, your painting. Everything is really, really good right now. I'm pulling this yellow down. I'm pulling it down.
See, you're pulling it up, saying down.
That's
so
true. It's so funny. Artists are so crazy.
Somewhere in the back of my mind is a witch screaming, defying gravity.
Wicked was so good. All right, so I really loved Wicked. Kristen Chenoweth. Okay. So now I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to wipe off if I have excessive pigment. I want it to just be lightly dusted in this brush. I'm going to come and get my little Cad Red Light here. I'm going to, while this is all still wet, I'm going to do this cool effect. This is also part of the fashion illustration influence. If you love fashion illustration, check out my friend Zoe while you're at it. But first, check out everyone in the CAC and the playlist, Love Summer Art Reboot. Because you don't know what you're going to find. Some cool stuff is going to be out there. Now, what you're seeing me do is I'm just on the tip, and see, I'm just kind of brushing a little bit. And what's happening is the paint is wet here and it's wet here. And while the paint's still wet, I can blend on the canvas. And I'm very light with my pressure. If I pressed hard, look, I wouldn't get much of a blend, would I? If I press hard, I don't get much of a blend. I leave a lot of paint off. But if I come up on the toe of my brush and I'm lighter about it, I can get a nice blend. So really think about how hard you're pushing on that brush, how much pressure it is. Now, as I come to this point, I'm going to wipe off my extra paint. There we go. Blended that up. Isn't that a nice blend of a little kind of yellow shirt that she's got going on? I can check my design here, see if I like.
We get that. Oh.
I like my custom fabric that I did.
You know, I was just as you mentioned Christian, I realized this painting looks a lot like Olive from Pushing Daisies.
Does look like Olive from Pushing Daisies.
Isn't that
I wonder
cool?
if she's just stuck in my. That is a show, I'm sorry, ended. I loved Pushing Daisies. I loved it. And honestly, I did like the lead actor in *Halt and Catch Fire*, but it did take me a minute to get into his much more evil, self-interested self.
Ned?
Because I just kept remembering him being in Pushing Daisies, and I'm like, I'm struggling.
Yeah, that was cool. I love the pie. Everyone should just sit down and have some pie.
Everyone should have some pie. Now, at this stage, I can put out burnt sienna and black. Let's put out a little burnt sienna. That's nice, isn't it?
It is.
And I'm going to put out a little black, and we're going to give her kind of some blonde hair. I love that. Right here, a little black. So I put those some places I can get to them. Notice I haven't put out a lot, and I am recapping my paint. I need to clean my caps. This is why they're hard to close right now, is I need to, after the show, I'm going to take a cotton swab with rubbing alcohol and clean all the caps. That's a habit I'm going to get into, because otherwise I'm aggravated all the time. I'm going to load up some of my yellow ochre, and I'm going to get some burnt sienna into it. There we go. See how we're sort of deepening that with the burnt sienna? And I'm going to go ahead and paint in all of her hair with this color, starting. I'm curving around the edge. The edge of the bristles are steering that brush stroke for me. Here I am at the glasses. What do? How do I get around these glasses? I come in on the edge of my brush and I curve those up and back into her. And then I just try to make sure that these brush strokes follow the direction of the hair. So if this is another little bunch of hair, I follow the direction of that little bit of hair. This will help it look really good later. Here we go. Similar thing. Up and around. Right up into that blue. Make that nice line. Now come down. Curve that stroke. Following the shape. It's almost like steering a little race car. I know I'm saying a lot, but I'd like to remind you to go. Up her face, around her glasses, back into the hair, brushing down. She's doing great, isn't she? You do this. You've got this. You do tons of things all week that are harder than this, right? Tons of things. Now I've got that base in. Maybe a little more of my burnt sienna, and I'm going to come up and do the bun. I like to kind of do a round brush stroke on the bun. And remember I said we could come back over that blue line. This is us coming up back over that blue line. I'll show you again here. So it's a little bit transparent, but by the time we get every layer in, it won't hurt us. I'll curve up, and I'm seeing like I curved up, and then I'm curving this stroke, and it helps kind of already inform the shape of her bun. That's nice. Rinse that out fairly well. Wow, we're cooking through her.
You really are.
You're doing really good. Remember, acrylic paintings have a crazy wackadoo stage where they will not look how you envision it to look, and you will believe that from your version, you'll see the streaks in every mistake in your painting and be very forgiving of mine. Realize that it's about layers, it's about finishing. We don't really see the painting until we're 2/3 of the way through. Now I'm going to change brushes to a round brush. So this is my number 4 round for my ArtSherpa line. I'm going to get some water into this, rinse it out. I'm going to pull out my pink and a smidge of my white. See that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come here into my glasses. You know, and I'm going to put in that little pink lower bottom. Remember, you're going to be coming back around with your nice black lines so you can make them bigger or wider or whatever you need. When I have a round brush, I start light and I press harder. I turn the brush with my fingers. It's twirling kind of in my fingers as I come around. That's how I get that effect. I press down, set the stroke. The bristles kind of widen out. You saw them do that there. And the other way I can get a nice edge is by coming up on the toe. That's two ways to control that round brush. I might make this one just a little bit bigger. There we go. Now I'm going to get a little more white into the mix here. I'm going to come right here. See, I put some right in the bottom. Did you guys catch that? I'm going to grab a little more. I'm going to do it right here. It's wet into wet, isn't it? Making those sort of interesting reflections. Rinse it out. Now I'm going to get some of my blue. I'm going to get some white into that blue. I wanted it to be a different blue than the background. And come here and come right into the pink as you come up. See how I'm doing? Using the shape of the brush to control the shape of the glasses. If I press harder, the brush strokes get thicker. If I press lighter, it gets thinner. I can even carry that down. And while the paint's still wet, I'm coming right in. Look at that. And you can even come with the tip of your brush. See how I'm doing? Make some little blending effect. Doesn't take a lot. Do something similar over here. Let me get out of the way so John can really get in on that for you. So I can come into the pink a little bit. Curve around. And how are we doing?
Really good.
Everybody doing okay today? Having a nice weekend? Having a little creative time? Maybe you're painting this on a Monday, though. Maybe you saw it on the replay. I'm going to come here and also kind of blend a few of these down a bit. And fill that in. Sometimes I like to just kind of run that out. Feeling pretty good. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Now you can get a lot of the white into there. And I'm going to come up top. These aren't the reflections. This is in the glasses. See how I wiggle and I kind of pull that around? It gives it some light and dark tonality. Right there. See that? Now when we add those reflections, that's really going to be something. Yep. Next thing we get to do, and this next thing is fun, we're going to take our Quinacridone Magenta and a little of our Cad Red Light, and we're going to mix them together.
Just getting ready here with the cameras.
Okay, we're going to go right into the lip.
Okay, your lips.
Lip. Top lip is going to be darker. I'm on the toe of my brush. I follow the line up and down. I follow the line up and down. Curve up. When I want to make a little thin line, I release that pressure.
Now you showed a couple techniques earlier that used either a flat or a round to make some edges.
Yes.
Is it important you do those in a particular order, or is it based on your skill preference?
It's based on your skill preference and control.
Okay, so you could do either one in any order, just how...
You can use one brush for an entire painting. As long as you have good control over that brush, you're going to be fine.
Okay, cool. So you're just showing different ways, not...
Top lip. Yeah, just different ways. And also I know that for beginners, sometimes making the brush smaller or more controlled, like in a round, really helps people get where they're going. I've added some white to my mix. It makes it lighter. I'm rolling my brush out. If I have to, I'll wipe off the excess on my towel. And I'm going to come down here. under her little lip. I might go outside my little line because I want her bottom lip to be a little bit bigger. There we go. We have that basis, don't we? We have that basis. The next thing we get to do is kind of do some fun stuff on the hair. So I'm going to take my black and some of my yellow ochre. See how we've got here? And it makes kind of this dark gray gold. Let's come to the bun. And I'm going to just... Here, let me wait for John to get up there.
Yeah,
It's okay, I just moved on you. So I mixed this yellow ochre and the black together. Kind of making a yellow gray. I know where my little hair is coming up, and I am curving up. So I come along the rise of the hair, and then I curve up that color. You guys see that?
Mm.
And I might come really clearly on the outer edge. Up over this, and you can see that I'm using the brush, not painting every individual hair. I'm painting the value and shape of the hair. Curling, curling, curling. Make a nice little... Notice I left some of the undercolor there. I'm going to get some more. Right? Because this is helpful. And I'm going to come and up on the top of this. Come over the top. And I make a little shadow right there. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy, pretty fun. Let's do a similar thing over here. I might take some of this darker hair down a little bit. A little more yellow ochre into that mix. See, I go press in, curve a little bit on an S, and then come down. I'm just using the brush to help me get that shape of hair. I'm not going to do the tendrils yet. Don't rush. That's important when you're doing tutorials. Take your time. Take a breath. Don't rush. Give yourself space to make this painting. Got time. You can pause. You can rewind. You can rewatch a technique. Rinse, 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 rinse. Now, as she begins to dry, I'm going to do a thing here. I'm going to dry her because I want to do some black lining pretty soon. And I want to also work the hair. So at this stage, her being dry so I can rest my hands so I can move around is ideal for me.
Okay.
You guys ready?
No.
No?
Okay.
I'm going to sip my coffee while you guys work it out.
All right. See, this is the part where I tell you about like color shift and shrinkage and acrylics volatility around heat. So it softens in heat because it's acrylic, and you don't want to use heat because it can cause color shift and shrinkage. Not as bad in student paints. I mean, in pro paints. Student paints, you have it much worse. And that's because they just use not as high quality binders or pigments.
They have weird fillers, wrong pigments. There's problems.
Yeah, so it's a... You go ahead.
It's an issue.
I'm monologuing.
It's okay. Monologue, baby.
No,
I'm going to dip in my water, and I'm going to swirl around in my black paint. And that's going to thin that paint a little bit. I don't want to thin it as much as watercolor. But if I'm painting heavy body paint, I don't want it to be as thick as it comes out of the tube. If you're painting craft paint here, you don't need to do a thing. Now, very carefully, I'm going to come on her face. I'm light brush stroke, which means I'm not pressing hard.
I didn't even see the lining on the reference image until you started put the line on her. That's crazy.
Isn't that nice?
I didn't even notice it.
Coming down her chin. Now, this is an area you may need to practice. Practice on a scratch sheet of paper. If you've never tried to get a thin line before with your paint, practice. Pull out some printer paper. Press hard on the brush, press light on the brush, press hard on the brush, press light on the brush, and try to get the thinnest line you can control. Okay? If you have a very shaky hand, you can rest your hand on something to help steady it.
Yeah, those are the things that are called bridges, right?
Yes, or even just use, right now my wrist is planted into the canvas, and I'm using my wrist as a bridge. You can see I'm on the toe of my brush, I'm stroking slowly, I'm not rushing, and at the end of the stroke I just release, and it gives me that nice line.
Okay, why did you do that? How come you made that come down? You didn't follow the line of her neck?
No, that was the original line, actually. Because that is the way the bend of the neck is.
Oh, so you're applying the front of her neck there, coming around the collarbone a little bit.
A little bit.
That's cool.
Come down on this one a little bit. I'm very light.
See, I see. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to come over here.
Up. Camera going.
And then as I come around the shoulder, I'm moving slowly. I'm not going so fast I don't have control over my brush. Harder you press, thicker the line. Lighter you press, thinner the line. A good detail brush is helpful here. You have a thick brush that won't give you a thin line. This is harder. I move the canvas so I could have a nice access to my curve. You can see I'm pressing a little harder as I come down. I'm going to load back up again on the tip. I'm going to follow this line very carefully down. I almost got going too fast there, so I have time. Don't rush yourself. Slow down. It'll be okay. Now, I'm going to flip it back the opposite way, John, because I'm going to take the stroke from here to here.
Oh, tricky. I thought you were going to go work on her face area or something.
Neck. All right, there we go. Siri has a feeling.
Siri, stop that.
All right, so see, I'm moving slowly. Now I can easily move and follow the neckline here.
That's funny.
There we go. The only other black lining I've got to do is in the glasses. So how I do that is I'm going to come around her glasses. Very carefully, all one stroke. Look at that. Notice that I carried my stroke past my beginning space to give it a fluid motion.
Yeah.
That's a helpful thing that I can do to make that go easier for me. I'm going to dry this real quick because I don't want to drag any of the black paint, and I'm going to need to rest my wrist.
Okay. So that's an important thing. Maintain good posture, listen to your body. If you need to take a stop, if you feel something getting achy, take a moment and check your posture, check how you're standing, make sure you're not going to hurt yourself because you can get a sports injury painting.
Which I have one right now.
Power painter.
Oh, embarrassing. The doctor's office is like, how'd you do this? Painting a lot.
Marathon painting.
Breathe in, breathe out, relax your shoulders. Relax your mind. We're going to do the second circle. Your goal here is to be calm, paint slowly and in a controlled way, and to not judge yourself harshly. If you're a perfectionist, as many people are, and there's nothing wrong with it, remember little variations in the painting doesn't mean it's not perfect, because this is art, and that artisanal quality, that handmade quality is important. Okay, so I started to go to the thing and I saw something and went back. See that glump of paint? That meant to me that my brush was not loaded correctly for what I was about to do. So I'm going to dip in the water and I'm going to reload. Rolling it out. See that roll? I roll and then I load on the tip, pulling the paint into the tip. Let's do this again. I'm going to come here. I'm resting my wrist. Coming around, slowly enough to have control, and past where my stroke started. Past where my stroke started. I'm going to load up again on the tip of the brush. If I need to thicken these to make them more like the others, I can do that at this time, but I'm going to do it slowly. I'm not going to rush. I'm not going to make big changes. Because if I make a big change over here, then I may find I have to make a big change over there. They don't have to be twinsies. They just have to be siblings. Okay? Now, interestingly enough, do you see what I did with the pink and the blue, leaving that where the eye line is? It's a little guide for me to be able to add the bridge. Got a little bridge. I want the bridge to be the same thickness on both sides, so that's why I'm adjusting right here. You hear me rinsing out very thoroughly?
I hear the swish.
Now I'm going to get some white paint. Just white. Pure white. I'm going to come here. And I'm going to make a messy little kind of wiggly brush stroke because that's sunlight.
Ooh, that was nice and thick.
Thick little things. You see the wiggle, wiggle, wiggle dot? Do a wiggle, wiggle, wiggle dot.
That is impasto, correct?
Yeah. And what we're really trying to do is just be rough because we're talking about it's like sun. I'm going to come over here. Wiggle. Dot.
Ooh.
Wiggle. And then maybe get a couple little, because it's just some light. So now the glasses are reflective, aren't they?
Yeah. They put a little emotion in there. Like there's some, I guess, playfulness to how you build out those
reflections, right? Glasses were very popular at Coachella last year.
Her hair's all together, so right now she looks like, she just came from work.
Now I'm wiping off any drops of water that might be getting on my brush. I'm going to come right here. And the lines are going to be shorter here, longer here, shorter here again.
Okay.
So longest lines are right here. They tend to curve towards the right when I come over to the right side, and then they curve towards the left when I come over to the left side. And then I'll join some of them in the center, and that's how I can get a reflection on her lip. Now, let's finish this hair. Next layer on the hair, I'm going to get just a nice amount of the yellow ochre, just the yellow ochre. Let's come here and start making some little hair decisions. See how we're doing? That layering is working out well for us. Now, while I have this, I can come in and put that just on the tip of my brush.
I didn't really get to see good on the camera, but when you were flicking those down, you kind of had your hand back a little bit.
Yeah, I was just trying to give myself a little bit of I didn't want to carry too much tension through the brush because it might press too hard.
Oh,
I don't have to rush. I can steer my brush in calm spaces, right?
Yeah, so that's interesting.
I'm just adding some layers and some colors. I'm getting lots of paint on my brush, but I am rolling out because I don't want it up the ferrule.
And that's much more of a flicking stroke.
It is. When I come down here, make little hairs. Tip of my brush. They're kind of like a little S curve. Come over and add some over here. A little flyaway. A little more yellow ochre right there. And then you can imagine I'm going to add some more to the bun. Stroking the opposite way from the top down and curving those strokes back into our shadow. Now I get to have some fun. I'm going to take my yellow and my yellow ochre together. You can even add a little white to it. You do want it to be yellow. And let's really tell some stories here. So I'm going to let that dry for a second, and let's come right here. A little bit. Let's take our time. Let's follow some of our stories. So stroking back and down. See how it's like a racetrack? Maybe I add a little reflection there. I don't take out all the paint that I had before. That wouldn't help me. Little reflection right here. Come over here and do something similar on this side. Going down, see, just very simple. Come down here. Adding some of those little highlights to her pretty, pretty hair. From the top, right? What do I curve? On this side, I curve towards the left. The strokes will get longer towards the center and then begin to curve towards the right as I move over. Last detail on that part of the hair, and then all we have is the flowers. I'm going to take a little of my yellow and white together, and let's capture a couple little spots. Can you guys see that? Just a little bit, not a lot. I'm going to bring it down the side. There she goes. Dipping in water, loading back up. Yellow and white. Let's capture just a couple little spots. Oh, that's nice. Little highlights, right? Little wisps. When you go to the hairdresser, you pay a lot of money for all these multitonal highlights and lowlights, so make sure you put them in your girl. What are we going to do right here? Similar stuff. Long hair. And a few little highlights up here. There we go. For the next part, you will need her hair to be dry, and I'll show you the quick and easy way to do the flower. I'm going to go like this.
I couldn't find it. There it is, my little button. Okay, so as she's drying that, you have to make sure that it's dry so that your subsequent layers don't pick up those colors. So if you're going to put like a lighter, like a whites on top of that, which is your flower, you don't want the purples to pick up any of the yellows, so you want to make sure all this stays nice and dry.
Yes. I'm going to get a lot of white onto my brush. I'm getting some water into it because I do want it to be loaded. Right? I'm going to come get my pink. I want the brush to be juicy with paint, but not sopping, not dripping. Just loaded. And we're going to talk a little bit about the star flowers. So there's going to be a petal, right? It starts right here, and she's going to come a little bit out this direction. Then there'll be another little petal here, another little one here. I'm making a little chicken foot. What's that going to do? It's going to help me remember where I'm sticking my petals. And then one right here and one right here. I'm doing it this way because many of you, when we do these little star petals, feel like you guys get a little lost in them. And I know this is a good way to help you stay found. Now, I'm going to press, and then come back and press again. And so if you didn't notice it, the stroke curves on the press a little bit towards the left, and then the stroke curves on the press a little bit towards the right. Dipping in my water, making sure I've got a nice and juicy load. I come right here, curve towards the top, curve towards the bottom. I may need to move my surface so that I have a better angle for some of the petals. Let John catch me. Pressing in, curve towards the top, curve towards the bottom. I can adjust the petals here if I feel like they're not even lengths, dipping in the water. Curve to the left, curve to the right. Come right here. Wonderful. Now, a couple little petals can be here. So I might press a little petal in here and a little petal in there. I think those are fun. And I may come here. And I just I'm going to stroke out a little petal right there. A little petal right there and a little petal right there. A few little petals. Rinsing out quite well. Let's get some of our white on the brush. Get some of our white. It's okay if it picks up some of the yellow, but we definitely want the white. I'm going to come around each petal. Kind of outline the center flower. Can you see how we're doing? Outline the center flower. If I need more white, I'll come get it. I roll my brush and get it right on the tip there. Just outline the shape of those star petals.
I like those. This they kind of reminds me of the passion flower. It's
Yes.
not quite one, but it reminds me a little bit.
There we go. When I have those outlines, I might need to go back and get, a little more white. I'll be like, oh, I don't like that outline. I need that to be neater. You can always come back and make something neater. And when that's all done, I'm going to take a little orange, just a smidge of orange, and my yellow together. I'm going to get them all on the tip of my brush. I'm going to make just a little yellow center. See how I'm doing? When that's all done, I'm going to take a deep breath. I give myself a hug for doing a good job. It's okay to hug yourself. It's okay to congratulate yourself. Let's start taking her in, and then we're going to put our signature in.
Wow, that turned out so nice.
Pay attention to how you're exiting your painting, right? Pay attention that you're exiting and you're feeling good when you're leaving, that your body isn't tense. Relax your shoulders. Relax any tension that you're carrying. I'm going to get a brush I like to use for signing. I'm going to dip it in water. This is a monogram liner. It's just a nice, long, fine brush. And I like to sign in little places that don't detract from the painting. So I'm going to come here to the shoulder. And I'm going to just very carefully add my signature, but in a way that doesn't take away from the painting. Right? We don't want to take away from the painting. We don't want to do that. I mean, yes, we want people to know that we made it and that it was ours, but we don't want to do so by making the painting's design be diminished by some crazy maker's mark. Because at some point, signatures start to become their own watermark, right?
It's true.
Do not reproduce. Look at her. Isn't she gorgeous?
Wow, that turned out so nice.
This is Summer Betty. You guys painted her. And can you see by making things simple, by flattening them, by taking information from the great fashion artists and saying, sometimes we can have less features. We can have more abstracted features, maybe not include a nose, and get this gorgeous pop art piece out of it. And noses can be hard, right? That's an area where new artists struggle. But you might not know, hey, it can be high design to remove those struggling elements, right? I'm going to do some more of these because I think they're really valid and I think they're fun. Actually, another Sherpa and I were like in the same mind for spa one with cucumbers.
Can we see her from the front?
Yes, let's cheer around.
Okay.
Oh, isn't she gorgeous?
She turned out great.
Just put her on a frame on your wall, right? And look at her every day and smile because you made her. You're a person who can make things. You're a person who can be creative. Whoever else you are in your life, you are a person who is also an artist. I want you to be good to yourself. I want you to be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.